Dreams these are not just figments of our imagination. Many times, dreams are divine messages, windows into our God-given destiny, often revealing a purpose far beyond what we can see in the moment. Just take a look at Joseph, a young man whose life was radically altered by the dreams God gave him. His journey toward greatness didn't begin with wealth, power, or position. It all started with a dream. In Genesis 37, Joseph receives a vision that, at the time, must have seemed impossible. In his dreams, his brothers' sheaves of grain bowed down to his, and even the sun, moon, and stars paid him homage. These were not ordinary dreams, they were prophetic, giving him a glimpse of the extraordinary future God had planned for him. But here's the thing: Joseph didn't fully understand the weight or timing of these dreams. He was excited, eager to share what he had seen, but his brothers didn't share in his enthusiasm. Instead, they saw arrogance, they saw pride. This misunderstanding led to deep jealousy, and this jealousy turned to hatred. This is one of the first dangers of dreams. When they are shared prematurely or misunderstood, they can invite unnecessary opposition. Joseph's brothers couldn't see that God was planting the seeds of purpose in him. They misinterpreted his dreams as a threat to their own position. How often do we see this in our own lives? We may receive a vision, a calling, or a dream from God, and when we share it with others, instead of receiving support or understanding, we face criticism, doubt, or even hostility. This is why it's crucial to remember that not everyone is meant to understand your dream. In fact, the wrong interpretation can lead to bitterness, confusion, and even destruction of relationships. Proverbs 3 verse 5-6 teaches us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight." In other words, we must seek God's wisdom in interpreting and fulfilling our dreams. If Joseph had fully grasped what his dreams meant, maybe he would have approached the situation differently. But even in their misunderstanding, God's plan was still at work. And this brings us to another critical point: God's timing is not our timing. Joseph held onto these dreams, but the journey to seeing them fulfilled was anything but smooth. After sharing his dreams, Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and eventually imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. Can you imagine? He had these incredible visions of greatness, yet his reality seemed to be going in the complete opposite direction. This teaches us something so powerful: just because your dream is delayed doesn't mean it's denied. It's easy to get discouraged when the path to our purpose is filled with hardship, setbacks, and opposition, but Joseph's life is a testimony to the fact that God's delays are not his denials. Habakkuk 2 verse 3 says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry." Your dream might take years to come to fruition, but if God has planted it in your heart, he will see it through. Joseph's waiting period wasn't wasted, it was a time of preparation. While he was in prison, he continued to use his gifts. He interpreted the dreams of Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker, showing that even in a place of suffering, Joseph was still tuned into God's voice. And this is another lesson: when you are in a season of waiting, continue to be faithful with the gifts and abilities God has given you. Don't despise small beginnings. In Genesis 40, after interpreting the cupbearer's dream, Joseph asked to be remembered, yet he was forgotten for 2 more years. But even in those 2 years, God was orchestrating something greater than Joseph could have imagined. At the right moment, Pharaoh himself had a dream that no one could interpret. That's when the cupbearer remembered Joseph. And when Joseph was brought before Pharaoh, he didn't claim to have the answers on his own. He said, "I cannot do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." Joseph knew that true dream interpretation, true wisdom, comes from God alone. What's incredible is that Joseph's God-given interpretation not only saved Egypt from famine, but also elevated Joseph to a position of power, second only to Pharaoh. In one moment, Joseph went from prisoner to prince. This shows the power of divine interpretation. When we rely on God's wisdom and not our own, he opens doors that no man can shut. James 1:5 says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." Joseph's dream wasn't just for him, it was part of a greater plan to save nations. Sometimes, the dream God gives you isn't just about your success. It's about fulfilling his purpose on a much larger scale. By the time Joseph stood before his brothers again, years had passed. The very ones who had sold him into slavery now stood before him in need. But instead of revenge, Joseph extended grace. He said in Genesis 45 verse 8, "So then, it was not you who sent me here, but God." Joseph recognized that his journey from being a dreamer to a slave, from a prisoner to a leader, was all part of God's divine purpose. What seemed like setbacks were actually setups for something greater. This is the final and most important lesson from Joseph's life. Your dream may face opposition. It may take longer than expected, and it may lead you through trials. But if it's from God, it's all part of His plan to position you for something far greater than you can imagine. So as you pursue the dreams and visions God has placed in your heart, remember to trust in His timing, seek His wisdom, and stay faithful even in the waiting. Your dream, like Joseph's, is not just about you, it's about the people you will impact, the lives you will change, and the glory you will bring to God. Stay the course, because the dream God gave you is alive, and it will surely come to pass in His perfect time. Thank you for watching. If this message has inspired or encouraged you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. God bless you.